This week's episode of House of the Dragon, We Light the Way, was fantastic. In fact, I think it's been my favourite episode so far. But despite how good I feel it doesn't mean it is flawless. What amazes me about this episode is despite its flaws and the changes from the book that I'm disappointed we're not going to see, it still turned into a great hour of TV. When I said House of the Dragon was going to have to play a bit fast and loose with book canon, this is exactly what I meant. It would have to follow the overall narrative of the book, but in a lot of cases where Fire and Blood sources contradict, it was going to have to forge its own path. This is exactly what they did. Be that compressing the timeline with the events happening earlier or later than the book, combining events, or removing some entirely. The opening 20 minutes or so, in my opinion, was quite slow, but necessary. They had to clearly establish there was going to be a wedding and introduce characters such as Joffrey Longmouth. I do like the show's interpretation of High Tide, however, I do wonder how they will handle elements such as Spice Town in later seasons. I also enjoyed the idea that King Viserys was so desperate to marry off Rhaenyra, he would lower himself travelling to High Tide. Viserys is ill and clearly dying at this point. All believe it, albeit slowly. Everyone knows it, even he knows it to some extent, which is why I think he's so desperate to get his affairs in order. One of my biggest questions when it came to the dance and the naming of Rhaenyra as heir is that by marrying her off, Viserys would effectively be ending the Targaryen dynasty, the crown passing to House Velaryon. Now, this seems really counterproductive to me and not something I think that any Targaryen king would want to happen, so I always wondered what would happen when Rhaenyra and Laenor's heirs took to the throne. Would this end the dynasty? So it was great to get some kind of answer to that Laenor's heirs would be Velaryons until they took the throne, where they would then take the Targaryen name. It is kind of similar to what happened in the real world with Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, with any children or grandchildren not in the direct line of succession using the Mountbatten-Windsor name. I found the conversation between Rhaenys and Corlys very interesting once Viserys had left. From Fire and Blood, I kind of got the vibe that Rhaenys was very bitter about being passed over. The show is presenting her as kind of accepting about it and kind of chill, with Corlys being the one still angry and bitter about his wife being passed over. However, I do wonder how much of this is really about his wife. I kind of got the feeling he cares more about his own bloodline being passed over. There has been a lot of criticism of Criston Cole asking Rhaenyra to run away with him, how he could actually possibly think she'd say yes. But the way I read it is a little bit different. I don't think he actually believed she'd run away with him. We could see, though, through the episode, while he did love Rhaenyra, he's conflicted by tarnishing his honour. For Cole, I see this as what he saw as the only way he could restore some semblance of his honour. I again find the scene between Alicent and Otto great to watch. She's still holding on to the hope Rhaenyra is telling the truth. I know Otto gets a lot of hate online, being in my view one of the key causes of the dance, especially in the show, by putting Alicent in a position to become queen in the first place. But I think you do have to agree with him on this one issue. With the existence of Aegon, there would be some in the realm who would challenge Rhaenyra's claim to the throne no matter what. That Rhaenyra would have to kill Alicent's children, that she'd have no choice. Nothing in that claim is untrue or wrong. The moment Aegon was born, a target was painted on him. Like Otto said, Alicent can either prepare Aegon to rule or pray for Rhaenyra's mercy. No matter if you like Otto or not, you cannot deny those facts, even if the situation was of Otto's creation or not. The situation is what it is. Though it is far from what I was expecting from Larys Strong in terms of performance and character, I am loving the show's take on him. Larys portraying himself as this sweet and harmless cripple, playing dumb to manipulate situations. The way he let Alicent know about the moon tea without directly just saying it was phenomenal. Some people online have had issue with the scene in which Criston Cole confesses everything accidentally to Alicent. However, my take on it is you really get to understand here how much the situation has hurt him, not just in terms of Rhaenyra rejecting his proposal, but the damage he feels he has done to his honour. Much like Alicent, I feel they are making Cole a much more sympathetic character and really fleshing out his motives and development. What I also love about this scene is the sheer sense of betrayal you feel coming from Alicent. Until now, she was happy to trust and believe Rhaenyra over her own father, and it was great to see this moment of her realising everything her father told her about in the earlier scene in terms of Rhaenyra was true, that she had a clear choice she had to make. The wedding scene as a whole was maybe the best 20 minutes of House of the Dragon so far. I know people doubted Matt Smith when he was cast as Daemon, but when he's on screen there is fire, and I think I can see many award nominations in his future. The smugness, the cockiness, the overconfidence. whilst he's entering the wedding, knowing full well he's not welcome there, is pure rogue prince. Just when I think the scene can't get any better, Alicent's entrance wearing the iconic green dress took it even further. I think we'll look back and say that this moment was where the dance kind of began. The look of pure disbelief on Viserys' face paints a picture. You can see in that very moment he knew there will be blood when it comes to time for the succession. I think this will be the moment he will truly begin to bury his head in the sand and avoid the issue at all costs, as if it's not happening. Some people have noted their disappointment that we didn't see Rhaenyra in our iconic red and black dress. However, I do still think we're going to get the iconic black and green moment later in the season. But I think we needed this moment with Alicent before the time jump, so her actions after make more sense and don't seem so jarring. Now, I was disappointed the wedding doesn't play out quite like in the book, and we never got the big tourney with Cole asking for Alicent's favour to spite Rhaenyra after his rejection. But I kind of get why they did it this way. Those tourney scenes do cost a lot of money. We've already had a huge one this season, but I guess this approach does work, even if it does make some of the events more questionable. The scene between Rhaenyra and Daemon just before the fight breaks out is pure chemistry on screen between both actors. You can tell they want each other. She wants desperately for Daemon to take her away to Dragonstone and marry her. Some question why he didn't, but I think it's part of his plan, and I do think this is going to get called back, judging from the trailers later in the season. Now, the outbreak of the fight and why Cole killed Joffrey Longmouth. The common idea people have run with is, after the vague threats Joffrey makes towards Cole, regards to his knowledge of the relationship with Rhaenyra, Cole just freaks out and kills him. Another idea I have seen put about is Cole sees what's going on between Rhaenyra and Daemon, and again, just freaks out of nowhere and kills who is ever near him, in this case Joffrey. But what I kind of think could have happened is the conversation between Cole and Joffrey carried on off screen, which then escalates into a fight. My take on this is the whole point of this scene is it's supposed to be vague, it's supposed to be confusing. That's why we are shown it happening from the point of view of Viserys. To me, it's kind of a slight callback to the books, where there is conflicting accounts of events, and you can't be sure what the real narrative was. At the end of the day, it happened. It doesn't matter that much. The impact it leaves does. But this is why I do miss the tourney setting. The whole idea of Cole killing Joffrey in the tourney combat makes much more sense than him just randomly beating him to death. While I can live with the vagueness of it, I do think this is where the wedding falls down a bit. If I was writing this scene, I'd have had set up some kind of mock single combat as a form of entertainment between Cole and Joffrey, both being the sworn shields of the bride and groom, and have Cole accidentally kill Joffrey, like in the book. But I don't think that would have played as well with the Daemon and Rhaenyra thing going on. The wedding scene itself was fine. I don't have much to add to that other than I think they will mirror it later in the season on Dragonstone, with another marriage later on in the season, which I won't go into due to spoilers. We also have what I see as the formation of the Greens, with Alicent saving Cole from killing himself. This is going to be a big moment. I think from this point on, Cole is going to idolise Alicent in a way, and see her as some kind of redemption for the moral wrongs he committed, and a kind of way of restoring his honour. Next week is a 10-year time skip, which I know many are unhappy about. If we ever want to get to the dance itself, it needs to happen. Maybe the gaps can be filled in with flashbacks to season 2. Regardless, while I'm looking forward to seeing Emma Darcy and Olivia Cook, I will miss Millie Alcock and Emily Carey. They have been phenomenal as Rhaenyra and Alicent. I can't wait to see Aegon and Daemon next week as well. This week for me was the best episode so far, but it did still have a few flaws to stop it from being perfect, which is why I think a 9 out of 10 is probably fair.